Life will challenge you in ways you can't predict. There will be moments of chaos, confusion, and deep uncertainty. In those moments, the world won't pause to give you a break. It keeps turning, regardless of how overwhelmed you feel. That's exactly why you must not allow yourself to become weak. Strength isn't about pretending you're invincible. It's about showing up even when you feel broken. It's about taking one more step even when every part of you wants to stop. You don't get stronger by hiding from your problems. You get stronger by facing them head on, by standing tall when everything is trying to push you down. Weakness isn't just physical. It's giving up on your responsibilities, ignoring your potential, and letting fear dictate your life. You may not be able to control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond, and in that response lies your power. Nobody else can carry your burdens for you. No one else can live your life, fight your battles, or become the person you're meant to be. You have to do that yourself. And it starts with the decision to not give in to despair, to not numb yourself with distraction, and to not let your circumstances define who you are. You are capable of more than you think, but you'll never discover that if you choose to stay small. When you strengthen your mind, you strengthen your life. Discipline, responsibility, and courage aren't restrictions. They're tools. Tools to build a life of meaning, not just comfort. The path is not easy, but ease never made anyone extraordinary. So, rise, get organized, take control where you can, and stop waiting for things to get better on their own. Make them better. Start with what's in front of you. Clean your space, fix what you've been avoiding, take care of yourself, and start carrying some weight. You are not meant to be passive. You are not meant to be helpless. You are here to become something greater, to strive towards something worth the struggle. And every time you choose strength over weakness, responsibility over excuses, you take a step closer to that version of yourself. The world is hard, but you don't have to be soft. Don't make yourself weak. Be someone others can rely on. Be someone you can rely on. Because when you refuse to surrender, when you choose to stand up straight with your shoulders back and your eyes forward, you don't just survive, you lead, you grow, and you rise above. And that is a life worth living. Strength is built through facing challenges, not avoiding them. It's easy to believe that comfort is the goal, that the ideal life is one without stress, hardship, or failure. But that belief is misleading. A life without challenge may seem peaceful on the surface, but beneath that stillness often lies stagnation, weakness, and a quiet sense of dissatisfaction. Growth, real growth, only happens when you're pushed beyond your limits, when you're forced to respond to the unexpected, the painful, and the difficult. You don't become stronger by staying in your comfort zone. In fact, the comfort zone is where dreams slowly fade away. It's where potential goes to die. Challenges are not obstacles meant to break you. They are the training grounds for strength. Every difficulty you face is an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to discover what you're capable of, and to build the kind of inner resilience that cannot be shaken by life's unpredictability. When things are tough, when you're anxious, uncertain, or overwhelmed, that's not the time to retreat. That's the moment to lean in. It's the time to test yourself, to stretch the limits of what you thought you could endure. Think about it. When have you ever truly grown during a time when everything was easy? When has ease ever taught you to dig deep, to be resourceful, to fight through fear or failure? It doesn't. It's only when you're struggling that you find out what you're really made of. This doesn't mean you need to seek out suffering for its own sake. It means you stop running from the struggles that are already a part of life. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift in mindset transforms a challenge from something destructive into something constructive. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives the pain purpose. And with purpose, you can endure almost anything. The people who inspire us, those who are strong, wise, and calm under pressure, did not become that way by living easy lives. They've been through hell, and they've come out on the other side with lessons, battle scars, and an unshakable confidence in their ability to handle what comes next. That kind of strength can't be given. It has to be earned, and it's earned in the furnace of adversity. When you face your challenges, instead of avoiding them, you gain something valuable: self-respect. You begin to trust yourself. You prove to yourself that you can stand up when life tries to knock you down, and with each battle you fight, your tolerance for discomfort increases. Your fear shrinks, your courage grows, and that makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Not dangerous to others, but dangerous to anything that tries to keep you small, helpless, or afraid. Avoiding hard things might feel good in the short term, but it builds long-term weakness, and weakness over time doesn't protect you, it exposes you, because eventually life will confront you with something you can't ignore. And if you haven't been building your strength before that moment, you may not be ready to face it. That's why you train now, you prepare now, you choose to face what's uncomfortable while you still have the option to grow. It starts with the small things. The conversation you've been avoiding, the habit you know is holding you back, the mess you keep walking past, the responsibility you keep postponing. Facing these things daily, no matter how minor they seem, is how you train yourself to be strong. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. It's not about being fearless. It's about doing what needs to be done in spite of fear. Courage isn't a trait you're born with, it's a habit you develop. And the more you develop it, the more capable and powerful you become. Not because life gets easier, but because you get tougher. You stop being someone who is constantly looking for the easy way out, and you start becoming someone who leans into the struggle, someone who finds meaning in the challenge. You are responsible for your own growth and progress. This truth is simple, but not always easy to accept. In a world where it's tempting to blame others, our environment, or circumstances for where we are, taking full responsibility for our lives can feel overwhelming. But it's also the most empowering decision you can make. The moment you stop waiting for someone to save you, to validate you, or to fix things for you, that's the moment you start to take control. No one is coming to push you every day. No one else can do your thinking, make your choices, or live your life for you. You can have support, sure, you can learn from others, get encouragement, or ask for advice, but at the end of the day, the work is yours to do. Growth is not something that happens to you passively. It's something you must actively pursue. You have to decide what kind of person you want to become and then commit every day to closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, looking at others who seem to have it all figured out and thinking they had more advantages, better luck, or natural talent. But what you don't see is the discipline behind the scenes, the sacrifices made, the nights of self-doubt they pushed through. Everyone has their own battles. And while you may not control where you started, you always control the direction you're heading. That direction is your responsibility. There's a quiet kind of power in taking ownership. When you stop blaming your past, your upbringing, or the people around you, you stop giving away your strength. Excuses are easy, they're comforting, they let you off the hook, but they also chain you to the same place. Growth doesn't come from finding someone else to carry the weight for you. It comes from putting your own hands on it and lifting, even when it feels too heavy. Responsibility means admitting when you're wrong. It means looking at your own habits, your own patterns, and being brutally honest about what's working and what isn't. It's not about self-blame or beating yourself up. It's about awareness, because you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. And if you're constantly pointing the finger outward, you never get the chance to do the inner work that leads to real change. Progress is not always fast. It doesn't have to be. What matters is consistency. It's making better decisions today than you did yesterday. It's getting up one more time after failing. It's staying committed when motivation fades. Motivation is a burst of energy, but responsibility is what keeps you moving when that energy is gone. It becomes a part of who you are, a silent promise you make to yourself that you won't give up on your own potential. Your life is your message to the world. And whether that message is one of resilience or regret depends on the choices you make daily. No one else is responsible for your discipline, your attitude, or your focus. You are. And that's not a burden, it's a gift. Because it means your future isn't determined by anyone else. It's not in the hands of your critics, your circumstances, or your past. It's in your hands. And yes, taking full responsibility can feel like pressure, but it's the kind of pressure that forges strength. It shapes character. It separates those who drift through life from those who rise. Every time you choose to take responsibility, you reclaim a piece of your power, and that power builds. Slowly, steadily, you begin to transform. You begin to lead, not just others, but yourself. So don't wait. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. The responsibility for your growth, your progress, your future, it's yours. And that's the best news you'll ever hear. Mental strength is as important as physical strength, and in many ways, it's even more essential. While physical strength allows you to lift weight, run faster, or endure pain in the body, mental strength is what allows you to carry the weight of life, endure emotional pressure, face fears, and stay grounded when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. It's what helps you stay calm in chaos, focused in distraction, and hopeful in despair. People often talk about getting stronger physically, working out, building muscle, training the body, but they forget that the mind also needs to be trained. Just like the body, the mind responds to resistance. It grows when it's tested. It becomes sharper, calmer, and more focused when it's regularly challenged. If you avoid every situation that makes you uncomfortable, if you hide from anything that brings stress or uncertainty, your mind doesn't get stronger. It gets softer, more fragile, more reactive. And in a world that constantly throws challenges your way, fragility of the mind is dangerous. Mental strength isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything's fine. It's about being honest with yourself and still choosing to move forward. It's knowing how to sit with discomfort without letting it control you. It's about being afraid and taking action anyway. People who are mentally strong aren't fearless. They've just learned how to act without letting fear paralyze them. They've practiced emotional control, developed patience, and built resilience through repeated effort. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're training your mind. Every time you stay calm instead of reacting impulsively, you're getting stronger. Every time you push through something you didn't think you could handle, be it stress, pain, boredom, or uncertainty, you're building mental toughness. These small internal wins add up. Over time, they create a mindset that's difficult to shake, even in the face of real adversity. Mental strength also means knowing what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Life will present countless situations that are outside your power. How other people behave, unexpected setbacks, moments of loss, failure, or disappointment. A weak mind tries to control everything and ends up frustrated and overwhelmed. A strong mind focuses on its own response. It accepts reality, adapts, and redirects its energy toward what can actually be influenced. This strength doesn't come overnight. It takes practice, it takes patience, and most of all, it takes self-awareness. You have to notice your thoughts, catch the negative patterns, and interrupt them before they spiral. You have to choose not to be a victim of your circumstances and instead become the author of your own mindset. No one can do that for you. It's an inside job. And just like physical strength, if you don't use your mental strength, you lose it. If you constantly run from challenges, avoid stress, or numb yourself with distractions, your tolerance shrinks, your resilience fades. You start breaking down over smaller and smaller things. But if you commit to showing up, to staying mentally present, to doing the hard internal work, you grow. And the world begins to feel less intimidating, not because it's easier, but because you've become stronger. A strong mind doesn't mean you're emotionless. It means you don't let emotions drive the car. You acknowledge them, you listen, and then you choose your response. You don't lash out. You don't shut down. You respond with intention. That's power. That's maturity. That's mental strength. So don't underestimate your inner world. Don't treat mental toughness as optional. The strongest people in the world aren't just physically powerful. They are emotionally grounded, mentally disciplined, and deeply aware of how their thoughts shape their reality. You can build that, you can become that, but only if you decide to train your mind with the same seriousness and consistency that you would train your body. Because in the long run, it's your mindset that will carry you through the hardest moments of life, not your muscles. Avoiding responsibility leads to weakness and stagnation. It might feel easier in the moment to pass the blame, make excuses, or look the other way, but each time you do, you give away a piece of your power. Responsibility is not a burden meant to weigh you down. It's a pathway to strength. When you avoid it, you're not protecting yourself from stress or hardship. You're allowing yourself to become passive, reactive, and eventually helpless. We live in a time where it's common to shift the blame outward. Something goes wrong, it must be someone else's fault. You don't reach your goals, the system is rigged, or you weren't given the right opportunity. But the more you blame others, the less power you have to change your own life. Growth begins when you stop pointing fingers and start asking yourself, what could I have done differently? What can I do now to improve this? That's when real change begins, not from shame, but from ownership. Avoiding responsibility isn't just about dodging big life decisions. It happens in the small, everyday moments. When you ignore a task you know needs to be done, when you procrastinate, when you stay silent instead of speaking up, when you wait for someone else to fix what's broken. It's easy to pretend those things don't matter, but they add up. And over time, they weaken your character. You start to lose trust in yourself. You become someone who doesn't follow through, someone who avoids effort, someone who lets life happen to them instead of shaping it. There's a quiet kind of damage that comes from this pattern. When you constantly sidestep responsibility, your confidence erodes. You begin to believe you're incapable, and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The longer you live without stepping up, the more overwhelming life feels. The weight doesn't go away, it just builds up slowly and silently until you feel buried under things you should have dealt with long ago. But the opposite is also true. When you begin taking responsibility, even in small ways, you start to feel capable again. You begin to believe in yourself. You stop waiting for the world to hand you a better life, and you start building it with your own hands. That process is empowering. You may not control everything, but you start controlling something. You become more intentional with your actions. You show up differently. You carry yourself with more purpose. Responsibility builds character. It teaches you discipline. It pushes you to think long-term, to consider the consequences of your actions, to be reliable not just for yourself, but for others. The people who avoid responsibility often feel lost. The ones who embrace it, even when it's hard, develop clarity, direction, and inner strength. They become trustworthy, and most importantly, they trust themselves. Some people think responsibility limits freedom, but the truth is the opposite. Responsibility creates freedom. The more responsible you become, the more control you gain over your time, your energy, your direction in life. Irresponsibility traps you. It leaves you reacting to problems, always cleaning up messes, constantly stressed about things that could have been prevented. Responsibility, on the other hand, allows you to anticipate challenges, solve problems before they explode, and create a life that reflects your values. And yes, taking responsibility is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your mistakes, your weaknesses, and the things you've been avoiding. But discomfort is not the enemy, avoidance is, because when you avoid, you stay stuck. You don't grow. And the longer you stay in that place, the harder it is to break free. So don't run from what's yours to carry, whether it's a task, a decision, a consequence, or a commitment. Face it, own it. You'll feel the weight at first, yes. But with time, that same weight will shape you. It will sharpen your focus, deepen your confidence, and build the foundation for a life of strength, purpose, and integrity. Small, consistent actions lead to meaningful change. It's a truth that's often overlooked in a world obsessed with quick fixes, overnight success, and dramatic transformations. But the reality is, lasting growth doesn't come from one grand gesture or one intense burst of motivation. It comes from what you do every single day. It's the repeated, often boring, unglamorous choices that slowly but surely reshape your life. We tend to underestimate the power of small actions. We think if something isn't big, loud, or instantly rewarding, it doesn't matter. But that's a lie. The most successful people, the strongest, the most grounded, the most disciplined, aren't those who made one heroic leap. They're the ones who committed to doing the small things well every single day, even when no one was watching, even when there was no immediate payoff. That's where true change is built. You don't need to fix your whole life in a day. You just need to start. Start with what you can control. Make your bed, clean your space, get up on time, go for a short walk, say no to the easy escape. Read one page, send that message, do the task you've been avoiding. These might seem like nothing in the moment, but repeated consistently, they create momentum, and momentum is powerful. It breaks through inertia. It proves to you that change is possible, that you're capable, and that you're not stuck. The truth is, the life you want won't suddenly appear. It will be built step by step, habit by habit, choice by choice. And the best part, each small action builds on the next. They start to stack. You become more focused, more confident, more capable. And soon, what once felt impossible starts to feel natural, not because life got easier, but because you got better. You trained yourself into a stronger version of who you were. There's discipline in doing the little things, especially when no one's clapping for you, when there's no recognition, no reward, just your own commitment to yourself. That kind of integrity creates inner strength. You start to respect yourself more. You begin to trust your own word. And that's one of the most powerful things a person can have, self-trust. When you know you'll follow through, even when no one's checking, you become someone with real direction and personal power. The flip side is also true. Ignoring the small things, postponing the easy tasks, letting the little habits slide, they create a slow decay. One day doesn't make a difference, but 100 of those days add up. Just like small, consistent effort builds strength, small, consistent neglect builds weakness. And the damage is subtle at first. You just feel a little more scattered, a little more behind, a little less confident. But over time, that becomes your normal. And that's why consistency is everything. Don't wait until you're ready to make a change. Don't wait for motivation to strike like lightning. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. But consistency, routine, daily effort, steady habits, that's what carries you through. And here's the thing. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be committed. Even if you stumble, even if you miss a day, you get back up and continue. That's how you win. Not by doing everything right, but by refusing to quit. Change isn't about flipping a switch. It's about building a foundation. And you build that foundation brick by brick through the small actions you take each day, the way you speak to yourself, the effort you put in when no one else sees it. Over time, those small efforts transform not just your habits, but your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes for change and start seeing yourself as someone who creates it. So don't wait for the big moment. Start where you are with what you have and commit to the small things, because in the end, it's not the giant leaps that change your life. It's the small steps taken again and again that shape the person you become. Don't surrender to despair. Rise above it. Life can be heavy. There are times when everything feels like too much, when you're tired, overwhelmed, and nothing seems to be working. In those moments, despair creeps in like a shadow. It tells you to give up. It whispers that nothing will change, that you're stuck, broken, or too far gone. But you don't have to listen to that voice. You don't have to believe every thought that crosses your mind, especially the ones that try to convince you that you're powerless. Despair is seductive because it asks nothing of you. It offers an escape, a reason to stop trying, a justification for giving up. But what it doesn't tell you is that every time you give into it, you lose a little more of yourself. You lose your sense of possibility, your hope, your drive, and over time you forget who you are and what you're capable of. But even in the darkest moments, you still have a choice. You can choose to stand up, even shakily, even slowly. You can choose not to let the weight crush you. That single decision to rise, to resist, to keep going, is the beginning of everything. You're stronger than you think. That's not just a nice phrase, it's the truth. The human spirit is resilient. You've been through things that once seemed impossible, and you're still here. Maybe bruised, maybe scarred, but standing. You may not feel strong every day, but strength isn't a constant feeling, it's a decision. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's choosing to face life, not hide from it. And every time you do, you chip away at despair. You show it that it doesn't own you. This doesn't mean pretending everything is okay when it's not. It doesn't mean faking strength or putting on a mask. It means being honest about your struggles while refusing to let them define you. It means recognizing your pain, but also recognizing your power. You are not your worst days. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your failures. You are something deeper, something more. And as long as you're breathing, you have the chance to write a new story. Hope is not naive. It's not weakness. It's rebellion. In a world that constantly tries to wear you down, to make you small, to tell you what you can't do, hope is an act of courage. Choosing to move forward, to improve, to grow, despite everything is a powerful stand. It says, I won't be broken, I won't give up on myself. And that choice over time becomes a habit, that habit becomes a mindset, and that mindset becomes your life. So no matter where you are right now, no matter how low you feel, don't give up. Don't surrender to the part of you that wants to quit. Stand up, even if you can only do it a little at a time. Pick one thing to improve, one thing to fix, one thing to face. You don't have to fix everything today, you just have to begin. And as you do, you'll find that each step you take away from despair is a step toward strength, toward clarity, toward the person you were meant to become. Because you weren't made to be weak. You weren't made to hide or to break under pressure. You were made to rise. You were made to endure, to grow, to lead, to transform. You have more power in you than you know, and the only way to discover it is to keep going. So don't make yourself weak, not by avoiding pain, not by hiding from struggle, not by giving up your responsibility or your fight. Make yourself strong, make yourself steady. Choose to rise again and again until the person you become is someone even despair can't touch.